Hello everyone, this is Esan. In this video we are going to look into this string class uh, methods. We'll look into length, we will look into the find method, we will look into the special static member constant value and pause, which is defined in a very strange way. Don't worry about it now. It's just a member constant value which gives us information about whether we found something or not. So using this we can determine whether we found certain value of a character or a string within a given string. We'll look into substring, which will take position as input and the length that we want to extract considering from that position, and return that string as a string. Then we'll also look into how we can use insert. Then we'll discuss a little about replace and erase. So in the previous video we have already talked about the length method. So what we could do is we could just say s dot length, and we could write endl, and if we run it, let's see what happens. It gives 13. However, one thing that we made a mistake was we have to include, although it returns, but always include this. We have to include string. So somehow within this header files, string was already included. That's why it was working. However, always explicitly include the library that you're using. That's a good practice. So it provides that we have 13 characters: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So indeed it was right. Then let's look into the find. What it does, it has, if you look, that it has a default position value, which is always the 0th index position, which in our case is h. So let's use it. So what it does is basically, if you want to look, so let's say if you want to check if there is a certain character inside a given string, then you can search that string and it returns the index position of that character in that string. So if we want to check whether capital H is included in the string object S, in that case we could pass capital, so this as a character. For character we use single quotation, and then since it has a default value which starts from 0 index position, so 0 index position means it starts from here, so we can just remove this and we can say s pass the message find c out, and then we can do endl, and let's see what it returns. It should return 0. Let's see. I made a mistake somewhere. Let's check where. And it's exactly the same mistake we did before. We should put endl and not l, end. So let's run this, Control R, and it should give 0. And indeed, the position of capital H in the string object hello world is at index position number 0. Now what happens if we want to check for H starting at position E? We could mention 1. So in this case it will search the string object S, which contains hello world, for capital H starting at from position index position number 1, and we know starting from this position there is no H. Let's see what it returns. It returns a huge number. And so what is this? How can we understand if there is any H or no H starting from this? What we could do is basically we could test like this. If string find is equal to, this is a weird way of writing it, and pause, we can say that we found nothing. So we could say found nothing, and then we do endl, and if we run this, and Control R. See, it said it found nothing. So what we could understand from this is basically this thing is a static member constant value which has the value this, and when string find returns this, you can check whether it returned this special number, and based on that you can decide whether it found something or it did not found something. But it's always better to write it using endpause. Now what we could also do is imagine we want to find if there is a string inside a certain string. In that case we could also use this string find method, and it will return the position from where this pattern starts. So for example, if we want to find hell, which is a string in this case, so we could say that, let's say cout s dot find, give the string hell, and we specify nothing. In that case, that by default it starts from 0 because we see it has a default parameter 0 like the previous find method, and we can do endl, careful. So this time it should return as 0 because hell, the string, is inside the string s and it starts at position 0. Let's run this, Control R. And it indeed returns position number 0. In case if it doesn't find it, for example, if we give wow, there is no wow string inside this, it will give the weird value that we saw before, and we could check this using string endpause in this weird fashion. We have to explicitly mention these two things, and let's run this. It will give us that weird number, we assume, and it gives this, so it's working. Now one thing you want to be careful about is here we have the same method name, and C++ compiler is not complaining. Well, the reason is because this is something we called method overriding. I think it's the right spelling, I'm not sure. But anyways, what it means is you can, in C++, you can have two different methods with the same name, as long as their parameter definition is different. Here we take a character as input, and here we take a string as input, and based on what you give as input, it determines whether it wants to use this or it wants to use this. Smart, huh? Now let's do this. So here we want to find, say for instance, we want to find what do you say, hello, and we want to start to find it from position number 1. So we want to find from position number 1, we want to search the string from position number 1 and not from the default position 0, and we want to find the string hello, and this should return us the index 1. Let's run this, Control R, and indeed it returns us the index number 1. However, one thing you have to be careful, although you are giving it the starting position 0, so you might think that it's considering this as the string. Actually no, it actually considers this as the string s, and then starts looking from this location. So starts looking from position number 1, and when it returns, it gives the value 1 because that's where we find hello, or from that's where the string hello starts, from index position number 1, and so that's it. Now imagine we want to extract a certain portion from the string. So we want to extract a substring from a string object. In that case, we specify from where we want to start extracting the string, from which index inclusive we want to extract it, and how many characters do we want to extract from that position. So for example, if you want to extract hello, we start the index position with 0 and we give that we want to extract 3 characters. So the way we write it is using this. So we say string, use the method substring, and take as input the first value, the position value 0, and we get the 3 consecutive characters including the character at index position 0, and we return a string. If we run this, it should give us hell. Let's do this. It gives us hell. So now imagine we do it from here. So we start from this position and we take 3, 1, 2, 3. So it should give us ELL. So let's run this. It indeed gives us ELL. What we could also do, since this returns a string, we could actually, if we want, we could save it. So we could say string, I don't know, give it a variable name, r is equal to this, and we could print r, control r, then we run it. I made this mistake here, the data type should be string, control s, and then we run it again, and it gives L. It's the same result, just we could save it in a string variable r, object variable. Now let's look into the few special cases. These are special because they take input but they return nothing. However, what they do is they basically change the receiver string object. So they will change s if you call this method on s. So let's show an example. Here what we want to do is we want to insert at some position a certain string, and the string that we want to modify, the receiver string, is given like follows. So what we could do is we could say s dot, we could remove this a little bit, and okay, so we say insert in s at position 0 the string wow, and let's see what happens. And if we run this, it basically enters wow at position 0 and pushes everything to the side. And now if we check the length of the string, again, let's do this, and if you run this, imagine what will happen. It should return as 16. It indeed does return as 16. So basically what it does is it takes the string s and modifies the string on spot. So let's say we want to insert at position 1 the value, string value wow. Let's see what happens. So what it does is at position 1, which was HE, it places the string wow and then pushes everything to the right. So have a look into Google to see how you can replace at some location, so meaning it will replace something at a certain position, and then how you can erase a certain position. We'll look at these examples maybe a little later, but the best thing is always to have a Google search, because there is no point really remembering all these things. So that's it. Thanks.